My name is Barry Parshall. I head up solutions consulting for CleverTap here in North America. I'm also kind of half of our gaming practice. So if any of you guys are free-to-play mobile game vendors out there, let me know afterwards so we can talk. I am joined in spirit by Stacy Earl. Stacy is an interesting gal. Her and her husband live in a mobile home and constantly travel the country. And unfortunately, in her recent travels, caught COVID, which is why she's not here today. So anyway, she sent us a recording. She actually thinks that she's going to be shown first. So in her talk track, she thinks that she's speaking first, but in fact, I'll do my shtick first, and then we'll go ahead and show the recording. Okay, cool. Curious, anybody here willing to admit that they remember a time when Microsoft Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, and Access for that matter, were all sold separately? Yeah, same here. Yeah, exactly. And before they became Office, before it got rolled out. Truth be told, you can still buy them individually. No one does though, right? So curious, do you remember who Microsoft Office competed with back in the 90s? WordPerfect. That was acquired by Borland, who then combined it with Quattro Pro, which was their Excel equivalent. Remember that? And Lotus 123, which was the Excel, which was the spreadsheet back then. They acquired a word processing tool. So they all competed against each other in this integrated platform of office tools. Obviously, Microsoft kind of prevailed. So anyway, it started off as point solutions, and then eventually got all rolled up into what is known today as the Office suite. Anybody here remember Omniture? Any Omniture web analytics users out there? Yeah, so Omniture, of course, was a web analytics platform. They then later built a tool called Search Center, which was basically a bid management platform. They then, in turn, got acquired by Adobe, right? And now we have the Adobe Marketing Suite, this massive suite of solutions that are all built into one platform, right? Salesforce used to be just a contact management platform, right? Now it's this massive platform of integrated tools and so forth. I defy anybody in this room to name a software industry over, say, $1 billion in annual revenue that didn't start off as a bunch of point solutions, right? And eventually rolled up. That is the natural evolution of pretty much every single software industry dating back to the early days of Microsoft Excel on Windows 3.0, right? That's just the way the industry works. And it's happening again in the mobile engagement space. Curious, I can assume that many of you guys are using an engagement platform, say from like Braze or OneSignal or Iterable. You might be using an analytics platform from, say, Amplitude or Mixpanel. You might have a CDP from Segment or mParticle or Telium and so forth. You might have an A/B testing platform from LaunchDark or the Optimizely and so forth. Indications of the early stages of an industry, right? Where eventually all of these point solutions kind of get all rolled up into one integrated platform. In our space, the mobile engagement space is actually in the early stages of doing that. In fact, GumECube, who is one of the sponsors here, got acquired by Airship. One of the many organizations that Airship has acquired as part of their effort to build this integrated suite. So why do companies, sorry, Lee. There we go. Why does this happen? Why do these point solutions all get rolled up into integrated platforms? Three major reasons that I can think of. First, they're way more cost effective, right? I mean, today you're sending all of your data to 2, 3, 4, 5 different services who ultimately, one way or another, are charging you for that. You're paying multiple vendors to store the exact same set of your data on their backend platforms. It may not look that way in the contract, but ultimately you're paying for that data being stored one way or another, right? So the integrated platforms promise to be far more cost effective because now you're only sending your data to one place, right? Another side benefit, by the way, of that is that you don't have this issue where 3 different vendors all have the same metric that's different. How many retained users did I have last week? And different platforms will give me a different number, right? So anyway, more cost effective. Second big benefit is that it's easier to learn. You're not having to have learn this platform and that platform and that platform. Inevitably, no one person ever does, right? Instead, you've got the one person that really knows this tool, the push notification system. You got this person who really knows how to build an audience segment. You got this person who knows the analytics. And if you guys want to do anything, like run a promotion of some kind, you all have to get together and build out that segment, and inevitably you're all working remote, so you have to get on a Zoom call, and suddenly that's just doing a basic promotion takes weeks, right? One of the benefits of an integrated platform is that one person learns the entire platform and build a promotion in just a few minutes. I'll give you kind of an illustrative example of that. Let's hypothetically suppose that I am concerned about retention of my users. Everybody's concerned about retention of my users. So I'm gonna go check my retention dashboard here. And yikes, yeah, I noticed a bit of a drop off. So I see that retention is down all over the place. So I'm gonna try to learn more about that. So I'm gonna go to my segmentation tool, and I'm gonna learn about how often my users are coming into my app. So I'm gonna go into the segmentation area here. Go into my recency frequency monetization. I want to see the recency and frequency in which my users are doing an app launch. Go ahead and click on calculate, and now I get these 10 audience segments. So I didn't have to go over to a CDP platform in order to build out a really cool segment, right? So everybody here in the upper right-hand corner, my champions, these are the users who have been in my app a lot and recently. All the users that have been here in the upper left-hand corner have been in my app a lot, but not recently. Okay, that's a concern, right? And my at-risk users are those that are now seeing a decline in the frequency. So we got a low frequency and a low recency. All I have to do is just click on this, right? And I can go ahead right here and generate an audience segment. So let's just go ahead and create a segment. I'll just call this my at-risk users. Done. So it just now created a brand new segment. I can go into that segmentation area where that brand new segment's now been created. There it is. And if I want to, at this point, I can go ahead and engage and go ahead and choose my communications channel, whether it's a push or email or a text or a WhatsApp or whatever, and now actually build out a message for that user right here within the user interface. I'll skip the initial parts. I assume you guys have seen the construction of a push notification before, so I won't bother going through that whole process. The point being is that the analytics, the segmentation, the messaging, all in one place, right? So another example, let's say for instance, I'm concerned about my store performance. So go back to my dashboard area, bring up my store performance dashboard. Here again, I see a bit of a drop off. Here's my conversion funnel. Again, a big nasty drop off at that third step, right? So let's learn more about this. I'm gonna go ahead and click on that dashboard. It now takes me into the analytics. You see we've got a complete analytics suite built into the platform, very much akin to like an Amplitude or a Mixpanel or whatever. Now, has it always been this bad? Let's take a look at the trends here and see whether or not it has been or not. Yeah, in fact, it's even gotten worse in recent months. So maybe what I'll do is I'm gonna hop over into the product experiences area, and I'm gonna build out an A/B test to try to improve the funnel, right? But in the meantime, before I do that, this right here is lost business, right? I want to, as much as possible, engage with these users right away to see if I can get them to complete that purchase. Here again, I can go ahead and click on any one of the bar segments and go ahead and generate an audience segment. These might be my purchase abandoners, as a for instance. So we'll go ahead and just type in purchase abandoners. There we go. Click on create. And again, I've got a brand new segment that I can now engage with those users. And maybe rather than engaging them with a single message, I'll bring up a journey and actually engage them with multiple messages. So here's an example in which I've got my target segment right up here. I'm going to be sending out a push notification, try to remind them or convince them to complete that purchase. If that push notification fails, then I'm going to send out an email. If they don't opt in for push or if the device is not reachable, I'll send out an email. And then after that first push, how long do I wait before sending out a second one? It could be irritating if I send one out like every single hour, right? So I'll build in the telenode test. The reason I call this out specifically is because Stacy in her recording specifically cites in telenode, so I thought I would show you what that's all about. But it's basically a test built into a journey where I'm going to try out different timings. So after I sent out that first push, how long am I going to wait before sending out the second one? So I'll try 1 day, I'll try 3 days, I'll try 5 days. It's part of a split test. To see when it works best. And the cool thing about this is that this is not a static test. There's no declaration of a winner necessarily. You can let this run for as long as you want, and the tool will keep optimizing. So this week it might be, 1 day is the best until everybody starts getting irritated, and more people are now responsive to a 3-day delay, and this node will keep optimizing. So initially it might send most people down this traffic, but it will keep testing these other two to see if conditions change, and if they do, it'll reroute people. So it's called a multi-armed bandit. It's not a static declaration of a winner test. It's constantly optimizing. So that's one of the nice advantages. So there again, and oh, by the way, for that same audience, I might go into the remote configuration area here, and I'm going to go into the store, and I might then turn on a sale specifically and just for that segment of users that got very close to making a purchase. One of the nice advantages of remote configuration is that a non-technical business user can literally change what's going on inside of the app, like turning on a store sale without having to go bother the engineers, right? So again, it's one of the nice advantages of having the remote configuration, product A/B testing, CDP, analytics, segmentation, and all of the messaging completely built into one platform. While today, what are you guys doing for this? You start in one platform to identify a problem in the analytics. You go into another platform to build out the audience segment. You go to another platform to create the message, and so on and so forth, right? So integrated platforms, they've been around for a long time. And in our industry, we are beginning to see the early signs of this roll-up of all these point solutions into these integrated platforms. But don't listen to me. Let's actually bring up Stacy, who created a recording. So those of you who joined the room late, Stacy unfortunately could not make it. She caught COVID, and she sent us a recording of herself instead. Her talk track assumes that she's speaking first. Overlook that. So we'll go ahead and play the recording, and she'll be talking about how they use an all-in-one platform to realize success within their organization.
Good morning. Welcome to our session in user engagement. All-in-one is the new point solution. I'm Stacy. I'm head of marketing and retention with KashKick, and I'm here today with Barry, who's the senior solutions engineer for CleverTap. I will say that I'm here with him in spirit, if not in body. So there's a reason for this. So as you can see, these are my journeys over the last 3 weeks. I started off heading from Tampa Bay up to Alaska to meet my dad for his bucket dream list of taking an RV through Alaska and part of Canada. And then I was meant to fly to meet you guys in New York City. Well, we encountered bears, whales, caribou, moose, and a nasty case of COVID at the very end. So instead of flying to meet you guys in person, instead I am in the process of driving 9 days back across the country with my dad, suffering through COVID all the way. So let me tell you just a little bit about KashKick. KashKick is a free get paid to rewards platform. So what I mean by that is our members can join KashKick for free. They never pay a thing, and they will get paid to do different things. They can play mobile game challenges. And if they make it to certain levels within a certain period of time, they can earn some big dollars. Well, big relative term, right? Big enough to treat yourself to some things. Or they can try different offers out. So maybe they want to open up a Chime bank account, or maybe they would like to donate to the ASPCA. We have different offers that they can interact with, or they might just take surveys and get rewarded for taking surveys. So that's a little bit about us. We have 3 million active users, and we add about 500,000 new faces to KashKick every month. Last month, we rewarded our users $1.2 million. So let me tell you a little bit about where we have been and the success we have seen using an all-in-one engagement platform. So the blue line that you see down at the bottom, these are app installs, and the green line are app launches. And you're going to see that for a long time, our installs and our launches pretty much paralleled each other. Like, okay, so we have people come in, we have people try the app, but they're not staying and they're not coming back. And if you look to where we're at now, we have actually had more than 3.7x improvement in user retention using an all-in-one engagement platform. So let's rewind things just a little bit and look at where we were at a year ago. As my manager likes to say, our user retention picture was undeveloped, so basically non-existent. Our engagement consisted of 20 million emails sent a month. It was a batch and blast, zero personalization. Like, we send everything in a loop every month, over and over and over again, and it was really the definition of spamminess. We had a huge leaky bucket of users. We were great at getting new users coming in and not great at keeping them. So we had kind of three options that we saw. So first of all, we're a development company. So of course, we should figure out the requirements for exactly what we need, and we should build it. And our development team came back and said, sure, we can do that in about 18 months. And so obviously that was not a great solution. So then we really did a lot of homework. We looked at a bunch of point solutions and looked at connecting those together to try to do what we needed to do. But in the end, through a little bit of luck, our EVP of revenue happened to be at a trade show and ran into CleverTap and connected him back to my manager to look at this all-in-one engagement platform that really met almost every requirement that we had. So a little bit about the benefits of an all-in-one platform. I'm going to go into these in a little bit of detail. So just in quick summary, we really have one platform. I said app here, but I should call it a platform. One platform for all of our engagement with all of our members. This all-in-one platform has also become a company-wide resource. And we've had some pretty significant cost savings out of it as well. So let's go into detail on those. So one app for all engagement. Our user journeys can span many different channels. And Barry's going to show you these, again, on our live platform that we're using every day. So you might even see someone creating a new journey while Barry's in there. These journeys we could start off sending someone an email and then decide that we wanted to, depending on how they interacted with that email, we might then send them to a push notification, or we might send them an in-app message. We're also in the process of adding additional functionality as well. So once we finish our implementation, we'll also be able to interact using a web inbox, an app inbox, SMS messages, and even web pop-ups, interstitials, or modals. So the next thing about it, having this one app, is we get to use IntelliNode for both testing and further personalization. So I know Barry's going to tell you more about IntelliNode. From my perspective as a user, I use IntelliNode a lot for testing, kind of A/B testing, of course, to see, does this messaging work better, time of day, those sorts of things. Although we can actually use, also let IntelliNode kind of determine time of day for us as well. But the thing I really like about IntelliNode is we can set up these journeys that use different channels and let IntelliNode determine through machine learning which is the best path for that member to take. And last, it's one set of APIs instead of multiple API sets for point-to-point solutions. That means we spend a lot less time trying to track down problems or figure out, sending events to this location, but now we don't have an event the same event in that platform. And so having all-in-one platform is really so beneficial for us for that too. So we were super surprised. We did not expect this, that this all-in-one platform would actually become a company-wide resource. So we intended, of course, for marketing and retention to use this platform to engage with our users, but customer service uses it. So, sometimes they dive in to look to see what actions did the user take when they're trying to solve a problem. Fraud detection uses it. They look to see, was the timing suspicious? Did they take this action and then immediately take another action and it's too close and it's not realistic and it couldn't have happened? Product managers use it to look to see what features are really being used, or what does the user do once they get in the app? Like, we found that they, are they going to earn the first dollar by taking their user survey, or are they actually just immediately starting to look at games and starting to play games? The revenue team can take a look at to see, what games are really being played, what games are being interactive with, and get some additional details and data that they didn't have on the other platform and other reports that they were using. And then, of course, our analytics team loves all the data that they get through this platform. And then last, I would say the event definitions that we created have really become the de facto standard for the entire company. So, that was just a benefit that we just didn't see. So, and of course, I think cost savings are always, just incredibly significant and important. So, email cost savings. I told you we were sending about 20 million emails a month. We, of course, just we're using our own platform, our own partner, and we just couldn't match the per email rates that CleverTap was getting. So that was actually one of the most important things for us in getting started along the way, was like, oh, we can justify this because if we did nothing but take that awful spammy loop and put it in CleverTap, we would be saving money right there. So email cost savings. One set of APIs, I mentioned this again a minute ago, our dev team really only needs to know one platform for sending events. And once they've learned, that nomenclature, that process, then it makes it so much faster when they need to set up another event. And they don't have to work through multiple APIs. And then for me, I think that this is the most important part. There is just no way I think that I could work with, get this good of results with the few resources that we're actually using. We use 1.5 marketing resources. I'm half, and then Vanessa, who is my teammate, is the full-time person, and then we have half of a dev resource as well. That ebbs and flows. So sometimes we're using them full-time for a sprint or two. And then sometimes we don't need them at all. I expect that I will always need half a dev resource, because as the product continues to grow and change, then we'll continue to have new features and new events. So that's going to keep happening. I do expect to add a second marketing resource in Q3 just to keep up with our growth. So, okay, so a few challenges. Let's talk truth for a second, right? Things are not always as smooth as you want them to be. So when we first implemented the product, I knew CleverTap, but I didn't know KashKick. My developer knew KashKick, but he didn't know CleverTap. So as a result, our events were way too broad. And so we ended up a few months after the initial implementation, going in and doing a complete refactor of our events. So my lesson learned on that is make sure your events are very discreet and not too broad. I would much rather have too many events than not enough. Second, IP warming. So this was a big challenge for us. We IP warmed successfully, right? Our emails were good. Our open rates were great. We got that green reputation for sending, but we were not prepared to start sending follow-up campaigns immediately afterwards. So as a result, our IP cooled down, then we had to rewarm, and things didn't go as smoothly the second or third time. So my lesson learned on that is to make sure that you're ready to send follow-up campaigns almost immediately, right? In an all-in-one platform, you've got to be ready to keep going. And then the last thing is, I would say, with lots of functionality comes lots of complexity. And so trying to teach all those different departments that I talked about, whether it was customer service or product or fraud detection, about all the things that CleverTap can do, means that I do demos, and sometimes more demos. But I love it, because often when the team is thinking up a new feature for the product, and they say, oh, how are we going to do this or that? I can say, we should use CleverTap for that, or we should use CleverTap for that. And so the team has really started to really comprehend the power of having an all-in-one engagement platform. So where we are today, this is the very end before I'm going to hand this over to Barry. So our total user growth is up 232% versus last year. New user growth is up 183%, 184, we'll round off. Our return user growth is up 553%. But return user growth is directly influenced by our user acquisition, so you really have to net that out. So if we have 553% return users minus 184% that were new, means that our absolute retention number is 369%. So we have truly had a 3.7x increase in user retention using an all-in-one engagement platform. So with that, I am going to hand you over to Barry, who is going to introduce you to this wonderful all-in-one engagement platform and show you again, as I said, our live production platform. So take it away, Barry.
Okay. Thanks, Stacy.
You're welcome.